want to give you what we typically think of a natural remedy. And by the way, when I say rest, I want to share that with you because people who consider people who consider themselves to be night owls have a 94% higher risk of having depression than people who are early risers and go to bed early. So one of the best things you can do for depression is get a good night's sleep and an early night's sleep. But I know often people, when they're thinking of natural remedies, you don't want to know about sleep and exercise. But okay, I'm going to give you an actual natural remedy that's been compared head to head to the drug medication. And that is specifically, the Latin name for this is Hypericum perforatum. Many people know of it as St. John's wort. St. John's wort is a beautiful little flower that grows in Europe, the United States. I haven't been to I've been to every continent except for Antarctica. But I know it grows for sure in Europe and throughout the United States and even way in the northern regions. And I'm a believer that God often puts the remedy in the area that you need it the most. Now, in this case, they brought it from Europe because they knew it was so good, and now it just grows wild around the United States, even in the northern regions. And now, talking about St. John's wort, the Mayo Clinic, many people have heard of the Mayo Clinic. They have research on a mixture of black cohosh and St. John's wort for menopause symptoms. And they found that using both of them together, St. John's wort plus the black cohosh, actually work better than either one of them do alone. And I want to share with you some quick research on it that St. John's wort versus placebo. They did a study of over 105 people with either placebo or 300 milligrams of St. John's wort, and 67% of the people taking St. John's wort lowered their depression versus 28 in the placebo group. Now, many people don't realize when they hear numbers like that, like 68, I mean, that's less than 70% of people. But that's still a majority of people. People think many drugs are like 100% efficacious, and very seldom do you have that. Many drugs will have like a 5, 10, 20% benefit. So a 67% benefit is significant. But you say, but Chad, that's just placebo. But the great thing is, when it comes to St. John's wort, they've done over 29 different studies with over 5,000 different people. And they've compared St. John's wort to various drugs like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors and also tetracyclic or tricyclic antidepressants. And what's fascinating about it is they've compared it head to head with one of the most popular drugs for depression, that's Prozac. And the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology reports on St. John's wort versus Prozac in a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial. And they found that St. John's wort was significantly more effective than both placebo and both Prozac and placebo.